The neighborhood was awakened by sirens and commotion on the streets. Something terrible happened in the house of the Smiths family. The people or the neighbors were used to the almost daily noises that comes from the house of the Smiths, as Andy, who is an alcoholic dependent, is always drunk and that constantly beat her wife and their invalid son. This time is different. The invalid son, who answers to the name Shane, is dead, and Dorothy, the wife, is 50-50 and was rushed to the hospital. Living room was chaotic. The two policemen tried to wake Andy up, but Andy responded only with a heavy moan and could not be wakened. So the two policemen dragged him out the house and thrown him inside the police car. Andy was heavily intoxicated with alcohol. The next day, Andy woke up in the prison cell at the police station. He wondered how he landed in there, so he shouted to the police.
Hey.
What hey? Why are you shouting? Why am I here? Why I am in this cell? Oh, you remember nothing? What will I remember? I am just sleeping in my house. That's what you think, criminal. What criminal? Are you calling me a criminal? Yes, because you are a criminal. You murdered your son.
Andy could not believe what he heard. He murdered his son? What he remembered last night, that he was in the bar as always and drinking liquor with some friends. How he came home, he could not remember.
I want to talk to my wife.
Pray that your wife will not die, because if she die, it is double murder.
I don't believe you.
Believe what you want.
I want to see my wife.
Your wife is in the hospital fighting for her life. You won't go anywhere.
You can't hold me here. I did nothing wrong.
Defend yourself in the court.
Andy Smith was brought to the court. An agency for the child welfare lead the accusation against him, supported by the government prosecutors. It was clear that because of his drunkenness, he had beaten his son Shane to death and severely beaten also Dorothy, his wife. There were many who testified against Andy, especially their neighbors. When there's trouble of Andy's beating to his son and wife, neighbors called the police, and the countless police blotters stapled were also strong evidence. Amanda, the best friend of Dorothy, also testified against him. The case of Andy Smith was blown up. Andy was a wealthy man. He had inherited a lot of money from his parents. His father was a former influential politician and businessman. His mother belongs to a wealthy family too. His parents were all deceased because of a car accident. Andy hired a good lawyer to his defense, but the government prosecutors established a no-bail case, so Andy stayed in jail under the custody of the police. On the other hand, Dorothy, who stayed for more than 2 months in the hospital, was summoned to come to the court. She had to testify what really happened that night. All eyes were on her when she entered the courtroom in a wheelchair pushed by her best friend Amanda. Dorothy, silently seated near the prosecutor's side of the court, looked at Andy, who was seated in between two policemen, at the side of the defense of about 5 lawyers. The lawyers were all known names. Dorothy's thoughts came back how she met Andy. She worked as a caregiver of Andy's grandma. Andy, being a spoiled brat, always came to his grandma for extra allowance. At first, Andy don't see Dorothy, because as he come to his grandma, he always have a girl with him, different girl, and Martha, his grandma, always complaining to her about her grandson.
I don't understand my grandson. Every time he comes here, he is with different girls.
Madam, don't be angry to me, but you tolerate what he's doing.
Why do you think that I tolerate him?
Because you always gave him money. You have money to spend to those girls.
Andy is a flirt. He was not serious when it comes to women. Then the parents of Andy have an accident and were both killed. Andy inherited a lot of money and swim in it. Women, casino, expensive cars, until he learned that a part of the inheritance he had hands on it were no more. What left were the businesses that he only could have the fruits. He learned that the businesses worth billions were in the control of his grandma. He could not touch it, and her grandma had the disposal if Andy could inherit it or not. Andy tried to contest the last will of his parents, but with no success. When Andy's parents died, Andy stopped visiting her grandma. Martha, who had hired a private investigator to shadow Andy, was sad and not happy, especially when Andy tried to contest the testament of his parents. But after Andy squandered all of his money, he again visited his grandma.
Grandma, how are you? Long time no see.
I thought you'd forgotten me.
Grandma, how can you say that? You're my favorite grandma. I never could forget you.
You have no other grandma. I am the only one.
That's why you're my favorite. You outlive them all. You are a strong woman.
I know you want something, but I'll tell you, I have no money.
Grandma, I come not because I want money from you.
Good. How are you?
Well, at this moment I have no girlfriend.
When will you better your life? You don't finish your school. Your life has no direction.
I am thinking to get married only.
Only what?
My monthly allowance is not...
Everything for you is paid. You have a personal allowance of $5,000 per month.
Grandma, with my status, $5,000 is just a peanut.
All right, I can't do nothing if that's your way in life.
Grandma, you can do a lot. For example, why not give me one business to manage?
Do you hear yourself talking? The millions your parents left to you, you just throw it overboard so easy. And what do you know about business?
Grandma, don't be so sarcastic and underestimate me. Okay, I've made a mistake. Can't you not forgive me?
Andy, I learned myself not to mingle what you are doing, because you don't listen anyway. But I could not push you away. You're the extension of my only daughter. Everything for you is paid. You have no more problems about that. And you have your personal allowance every month. But until you cannot prove to me something good, you cannot have a business. Sorry.
Okay, I will be a good boy. What else would I do besides just being a good boy?
Get married and give me a grandchild.
Dorothy's thoughts of the past suddenly stopped. She saw Andy is heavily trembling and is shouting. There's a commotion and the court session was suspended for a while.
Go away. You are doing tricks on me. Everybody look. The letters of his name and his uniform were dancing. Go away.
The lawyer saw the trembling of Andy and the panic shouting about the letters that were dancing. And the lawyer asked the judge for a doctor, and a doctor was summoned to come and examine Andy. Diagnosed was that Andy was hallucinating and must brought to the hospital for examination of his health condition. Andy also was vomiting. The case was postponed under further notice. Dorothy had seen this before. What's happening with Andy was he's suffering from alcohol withdrawal syndromes. Dorothy wondered, for a few months under the police custody of Andy, could he still have alcohol in the jail? It's almost more than 2 months that Andy was apprehended, and in an alcohol withdrawal, the person would feel better after 5 days. Dorothy thought Andy maybe let alcohol be smuggled to his cell. Dorothy temporarily stayed in the house of Amanda. Amanda is a nurse, and Dorothy decided to hire her best friend to take care of her. That night, Dorothy could not sleep as she continued her travel to the past. How did Andy become her husband? She doesn't know yet that it was the doing of Martha, the grandmother of Andy. She thought that Andy was fallen in love with her.
Madam, Andy is always visiting you now.
I noticed, and I am happy. He changed a lot, isn't it?
Yes, I noticed it too. He changed really. Before, he doesn't or seldom talk to me. But now every time he comes, he always brought a present to me.
Do you like it?
What do you mean, madam?
That Andy is nice to you. That he shows interest on you.
Well, it depends, madam. What is the reason reason why somebody have interest on you.
Of course, when somebody is interested to you, it could mean because of your good character or personality and wanted to befriend with you, or because they wanted something from you. For a young woman like you, maybe because that someone wants you to be his woman, his wife.
You're hinting, madam, that Andy is interested in me because he wants me to be his wife. Well, it's possible that it's what he wanted, but I am not sure if I will be his woman or his wife.
Oh, why not?
Andy is a flirt. He is not serious in having a stable relationship with a woman. On my part, I am not the suitable woman for him. Our world is far apart. He is born rich and me. You know already what my life is, as I told you. I am abandoned as a baby by whoever my parents were. I grew from the orphanage, then from one foster parents to another. Along the way, I managed to study and finish my high school. I wanted to be a doctor, but ended to shortcut it into a short course of caregiver so that I can support myself.
You know that I admired you for that. You are a good woman worthy to be somebody's wife. I will be honest to you, Dorothy. If Andy likes you, please consider that I am in favor. You to be his wife.
Hearing what Martha said, Dorothy could not describe to herself the feeling she had. It comes to her that Martha wanted her to be the wife of Andy. Andy is a man, despite with all his vices, still has a strong charisma that women could not resist, plus the money. Many believed that Andy Smith is a billionaire, and many women dreamed to be his wife. Being honest to herself, Dorothy knew he was attracted to Andy since the first time she saw him. But she was doubting why so suddenly Andy having an interest on her. She's thinking that Andy was just flirting and not serious, and if she won't take care, she will be only hurt.
What will I do to make you believe I am serious?
Don't ask me, because if I say it, you will not do it anyway.
Try me. Come on, Sid.
You had many girlfriends, but you never married.
You got me. If you say yes to me now, we will tell Grandma that we will be married as soon as possible.
Dorothy could hardly believe that Andy will really marry her, and a kind of testing the water. She said yes, and to her surprise, Andy quickly dragged her to Martha and told the old woman that they were getting married. Martha, on the other hand, seemed not surprised, but instead was glad and happy. The engagement was published, and so the coming marriage. It was the talk of the town. A mere caregiver has captured the heart of a billionaire. Many girls envied Dorothy, and Dorothy herself was happy. She believed that Andy loved her. Before the marriage, Martha have a good tete-a-tete with both Andy and Dorothy. In front of two lawyers, Dorothy have to sign a prenuptial agreement. Before they signed, Martha told both to read more than 50 pages of papers, but Dorothy said in her mind that it is about her not to have rights on the money and properties, that she don't have to read it. She married Andy not because of money, but because she loved him. Whatever the contents of the documents, it doesn't matter to her. Andy, on the other hand, also don't want to read it. He was so convinced that whatever content of the documents have, it's only to be sure that Dorothy could not touch any inheritance that's for him. So both did not read the document and signed it. Her grandma Martha was a wise lady, letting Dorothy sign a prenuptial agreement. That's what Andy thought. Reading a more than 50 pages documents is boring. Andy trusted his grandma, his only family left that's taking care of him in her own way. Dorothy thought she's in heaven. When they returned home after their honeymoon, she and Andy were talking about to have a child as soon as possible. Dorothy stopped being the caregiver of Martha. Amanda, Dorothy's best friend, had taken the job. Only after 3 months, Andy and Dorothy have a good news to Martha.
Grandma, look this negative. What do you think of this?
Dorothy, it's true?
Yes, Grandma, I am pregnant.
I am happy to both of you. Take good care of my second-generation grandchild.
It calls for a celebration, Grandma.
Yes, you called my favorite restaurant. This is indeed something worth a celebration.
Few days after the dinner celebration, Dorothy was surprised to see a huge amount of money deposited to her bank account, $50 million. It was a trust funds company deposited ordered by Martha, with the details of description that the money is a gift to her for having a baby. Dorothy could not believe it. She looked for Andy to tell him about the money that Martha let be deposited to her account. She found Andy in the living room, laughing in front of his computer.
Andy, darling, why are you laughing?
I am happy. She made her promise true. Look,
Promise? What promise? Who is she?
look, Grandma deposited the amount she promised to me. $50 million.
Dorothy looked at the computer. Andy was looking online his bank account. She saw the amount of $50 million deposited by the trust funds company as ordered by Martha. Dorothy was confused. She sensed something from the words of Andy. Martha had promised Andy an amount, but she also had an amount of $50 million on her account, the same what Andy had. The doubt was forming in her mind, and she decided to not tell Andy about the money she received. When Andy has his money, Dorothy noticed the gradual changes between her and Andy. Andy is always away with the reason he's busy about a business. Dorothy did not ask why Martha gave such amount, but as Andy emphasized, it was the promise of Martha to Andy about starting a business of his own. Still, Dorothy could not understand why she also received from Martha the same amount that Andy had. One day, as usual that Andy was away, Dorothy decided to visit Martha. Dorothy planned to ask Martha why and for what is the amount she received in her account. Martha was happy to see her.
You are alone? How are you? How is my little grandson you're carrying?
Grandma, everything is okay.
Nice to hear that. You are alone. Where is Andy?
He is busy with his business.
He already have a business. What business does he has started?
I don't know, Grandma. He said to me that I must not worry about it and leave everything to him. It is not good for the baby.
Martha did not respond to what Dorothy said. He changed the topic and said to Amanda to prepare the table, for she liked to play domino with them, and the three women played the game. Dorothy stayed until late in the evening as Martha invited her to have dinner with her, as Amanda had to go for a while for something personal. After the dinner, Dorothy decided to ask Martha about the amount that was deposited to her bank account, and the answer of Martha was,
A gift, no less, no more.
But Grandma, it's a huge gift. What will I do with the money?
Dorothy, listen to me. I will tell you frankly, I don't trust Andy, not at all. He is my family, my own flesh and blood. But I have this feeling that he will only squander all the money that my husband and I have earned hard. He doesn't know it yet, that all the properties he thought were his parents' is mine. He thought it's his parent because his late father managed everything. I trusted his father. He is a good man. I don't know where did Andy learned his character, but I guess because he grew spoiled and doesn't understand that to have money, you have to earn it. The money deposited to your bank account is really for you. You can do what you want to do on it.
Grandma, I don't know what to say. Don't you worry. The money, I will keep it and spend it to this creature that is already always kicking me from inside. And he doesn't know that you also had given me an amount the same what he had. I did not tell it him.
Good. But you don't have to worry about that creature you're carrying. His or her good future is sealed.
It is a he, Grandma.
But Dorothy, please be honest to me. I see in your face and the way you act that you are not happy. Am I wrong to say that you are not happy and have problems?
Grandma, don't worry about me. I heard from Amanda that there's something wrong with your health.
I am already old, so don't worry about me. Listen to my advice. Take care and love yourself. Whatever the consequences, put yourself and the baby above all.
Few months after, Dorothy was rushed to the hospital. She had a little accident in the bathroom. It's not yet time to deliver her baby, but because she was bleeding, the doctors decided to do cesarean on her. At the same time, Martha was also in the ER of the hospital. She has a heart attack. Unfortunately, Martha did not survive. She passed away. Dorothy and her baby survived. Andy is nowhere to find, and Amanda decided to contact the private investigator Martha paid to shadow Andy. Andy was found in the apartment of a woman, a celebrity actress. Name withheld from the public appeared in some tabloid magazine as a blind item. Dorothy was glad that her baby, although have to stay in an incubator for months, had survived. She was sad to what happened to Martha. The old woman, for a while, had functioned to her as a mother she never had. After the burial of Martha, Amanda was always with Dorothy. She was the confidant of Dorothy as they were good friends during their high school days. Andy, although he acted, seemed concerned about Dorothy and the baby. Dorothy felt no sincerity on it at all. Maybe because she learned about the escapades of Andy with the celebrity actress. She knew already that Andy was a flirt, but she had hoped for Andy's honesty to her as his wife. 2 weeks after Martha was buried, the lawyer summoned Andy and Dorothy. The lawyer will read to them Martha's last will and testament. Andy was excited. Now all the wealth of the family will be on his hands. But after the lawyer read to them the testament, Andy burst to anger.
No, that could not be.
Mr. Smith, please be calm.
Why did Grandma do this to me? It's unfair. Someone had manipulated her. I will contest her testament to the court.
Mr. Smith, you can do what you like, but I advise you not to, because you had signed in all documents involved in this testament of your grandma. Now, it is between you and your wife to talk about this, but I warn you, as stated clearly, not to do foolish things or you will lost it all.
The shocking will and testament of Martha was the talk of the people in all class of the society. Martha transferred her power over the family wealth to Dorothy. For Andy, the cash of $50 million and the monthly allowance from the trust funds, he doesn't need to work, for his existence is well funded. The only problem was that the $50 million cash was the amount he received earlier, and it is almost gone. He had not started any kind of business. It comes out that the prenuptial agreement he and Dorothy signed was to protect the family wealth not from Dorothy, but from Andy. It has also a clause that would protect Dorothy and her son from any harm. Suspicious death of Dorothy and her son. The wealth directly will be divided to all charity organizations as mentioned in the documents that both Andy and Dorothy earlier did not bother to read when they signed. There's also a recorded message to both Andy and Dorothy.
To Dorothy, please remember what I said. Whatever consequences, you have to think yourself and your son's welfare above all things and honor my trust to you. Do what is best for all what was entrusted to you. I know you love my grandson, but I am sorry. I don't know and not sure about Andy's feeling towards you. But people changed, give him a chance. To Andy, I love you as my grandson, but not as a person. You are a selfish, egoistic, who thinks only yourself. You don't care anybody but only your own pleasure. You know only one thing, that is pleasure for yourself. Within a year, you spent the $50 million like water from the faucet, gambling and on a woman. You bought a house for that cute actress of yours, and spent almost your time with her with a lie to your wife about that you are busy with your business. Do you know who that actress was with when you are not around? Are you shocked about my will and testament? Learned a lesson from all of this. Number 1. Trust nobody but yourself. Number 2. Read all documents before signing. Number 3. Learn how to love someone who loves you, especially your wife and your son. You have a lifetime allowance and living maintenance from the trust funds. Dorothy and your son also have their own maintenance, so that you don't have to worry about them. The assets of all properties and fruits of all businesses remained in the hand of Dorothy, and when your son reached the age of 24, it will transfer to him. But before that, it could be yours after 10 years if you change yourself, or prove you become a good man, a loving husband and father. Good luck. Remember, it all depends on you. I love you.
You doesn't love me. You are torturing me.
Andy can't do anything. The hope of Martha, him to be a good husband to Dorothy and father to their son, did not happen. He became a beast, and Dorothy and their son have to suffer.
My grandmother paid me $50 million to marry you. Manipulative you are. You don't have to ask me what I do or where I am. You cannot control me the way you controlled my grandmother. I hate you. You are nobody. You even don't know who your parents were. You can do nothing good, giving me an invalid son. Gold digger you are.
Many more verbal abuses that later became physical. Dorothy endured it all. 4 years of miseries with a man that she thought loved her, until that fatal night, which almost had taken her life. Unluckily for her son Shane, that died. When the court resumed, Dorothy testified, and in front of the judge and the people present in the court, she described what occurred on that horrific night. Her testimony sealed for Andy a sentence of more than 20 years imprisonment. Handcuffed, Andy passed where Dorothy was seated in the wheelchair. Their eyes meet, and suddenly, Andy requested the police if he can talk to his wife. When the policeman asked Dorothy, Dorothy said if possible to leave them alone for a while. Confident that Andy can do nothing, the request of Dorothy was granted.
Dorothy, I am sorry. Will you please forgive me?
Dorothy, for a while, said nothing. Her tears were rolling down on her cheeks. She sensed the sincerity and regrets from the voice of Andy. Then she made a gesture for Andy to come nearer, as she wants to whisper something to him.
Andy, you don't have to ask forgiveness. You did not kill our son. It's me who killed Shane. I thought I will die, and I cannot bear to let Shane, our son, alone, bleeding in agony. You don't know what happened because you collapsed of drunkenness. I am the criminal, not you. You heard it? I will repeat it again. You are not the criminal. I am. Yes, I am the criminal.
Only Andy heard the words that Dorothy whisperingly said. Andy was shocked. His eyes widened. Then he suddenly shouted,
Yeah!
Take him away. He scared me. Take him away.
No, Dorothy. Tell them that I did not kill Shane, tell them. I don't have to go to jail. You are the one that must be punished, not me.
and the people around shook their head. They thought Andy, with his worryless character and well life, is losing his mind, accusing his wife as the one who killed their child. Dorothy said no more words as her eyes followed Andy that was almost dragged away by the policeman. Because all eyes were on Andy, no one noticed a composed smile that appeared on her lips. Our story ended in here. Is it true? What had Dorothy whispered on Andy's ear? Or she said it to him just only to torture him? Is Dorothy really the criminal? Does a proverb, "Hell hath no fury," like a woman scorned, applies to what she did? I like to hear comments. Thank you for watching. Your like, share, and subscribe will be much appreciated. I wish you all a good life, a good health, and may God bless us all.